Hey everybody, this is Perch. West Coast Avengers. All right. So this comic was created. Jerry Duggan is doing it. It's kind of a continuation of his Iron Man run. Maybe sort of, kind of, if you really squint, a continuation of his X-Men run. This comic, the premise behind it is that Tony Stark wants to rehabilitate villains or people who are, sus evil, not real evil. And they're going and by the way, I know I've been harping on this lately, but this is the kind of stuff that creates a cognitive dissonance that is really where comics are at right now, where you have Tony Stark and he's like, I'm going to rehabilitate these villains. I'm going to rehabilitate Ultron. I mean, just characters that have at times actively tried to commit genocide. And they then at simultaneously they're like they write comics for like, it's time to go kill some Nazis. These white supremacists are Nazis. I find myself in this weird position where I'm like I'm reading these comics and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to go defend white supremacists. And I don't want to do that. Like, that is not a place you want to defend anyone. Like it's not like these are good characters, but it is just hard to read a comic book and your brain is going, all right, I need to accept that Ultron, a character that during, during was it Annihilation Conquest? Was that the Ultron one? Which was the Ultron one? One was Annihilus, one was Ultron. Anyway, Ultron at one point tried to take over the universe. Um, and was just murdering people. He had Age of Ultron that Bendis wrote, where he was killing off all like everything. Like, am I assigning gender to a robot? I don't know. Anyway, Ultron was committing mass genocide. I find myself going, on one hand, they're trying to rehabilitate Ultron. On the other hand, they're saying it's okay to shoot a guy who's picketing, saying abortion should be illegal. Like, I don't know what is going on here. I don't know what I'm doing with comics. Anyway, that's where we are. West Coast Avengers. I've been reading this comic, and I this isn't a promise. This is not a video just to shit on Jerry Duggan, but I don't understand where this comic is going, because there's been two issues in a row now. The first issue was Firestar is, in a very kind of the most hacky, non-subtle way possible, is like, she may have a drinking problem. How do they decide to exhibit this? In the comic, they have her pull out like a flask from her skin-tight uniform where the only place she could hide that flask is in her ass. That's the only place that would fit in her uniform. I don't know, maybe under her feet in a boot, maybe. Anyway, so Firestar's like, fuck it, I gotta take a drink. And she's like pulling out a flask from her, bathing suit, basically. And so the like one issue is all about that, and the fact that she's kind of wanting to make out with a older bad guy who's getting rehabilitated. And in the next issue, they're fighting evil Captain America, Steve Rogers' clone, who was the from Secret Empire, the Nick Spencer event that didn't go very well. Anyway, he's now the Flag Smasher. He was Captain Krakoa. Like, they're basically giving him all the like, you could have all the identities. Anyway, he's Flag Smasher, and they kind of easily defeat him. They actually have a page where each one of the West Coast Avengers, like Rhodey, Tony, and who else? Anyway, another character, basically punch him. Not basically, that's what they do. They punch him. Like, they each one goes around like fuck you, you Nazi, and they punch him and they send him off to jail. And the rest of the issue is like, is Firestar going, I have a drinking problem, I'm checking myself into rehab. Keep in mind, this comic has really never exhibited that she's had a drinking problem. I mean, they've shown her, like, she shows up to team briefing. Now, in fairness, if I was on this team too, I'd be like, we're not doing anything. We're not talking about going out and fighting villains or anything else. We're just sitting around and we're debating whether Ultron, who's on the team, is a good guy or a bad guy, and we finally decide he's a good guy because we burn an Avengers logo into his metal whole chest. Like, that's the whole fucking issue. And she's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm taking a drink. And the comic's like, she may have a drinking problem. I would be so hammered if that was what I did every day as part of my superhero team. Like, you show up and you debate if the evil genocidal robot is actually going to kill everybody or not. And that's all you do all day. You do that. Yeah, I'd be drinking too. Like, I'd be like, fuck it, we're having a ranch water and a margarita. That's what we're gonna combine the two. We're gonna have like super tequila. That's what we're doing today. So anyway, there's been a couple issues where Firestar's like, man, life is kind of tough. They had me as a double agent inside of Orcus, the Nazi stand-in, team of 2024, and then I watched my friends, the X-Men, murder all of them, and then you know that ended, and now I'm on a team with the West Coast Avengers, and Ultron is my teammate. Yeah, I'm having a couple shots. I am. But anyway, they have a couple issues where she's like, fuck it, I'm taking a drink. And then she checks herself into rehab. And I mean, that's the comic. And I guess my question in all this is, why is this a comic? And legitimately, I know there's people out there, because I look at Reddit and people are like, this is the best comic of all time. This is the best run of West Coast Avengers has ever been. And I want to not believe that those people are real. How are they real? That doesn't make sense. This is not the best comic. What are we doing? But I would love it in the comments. Are you enjoying this? Like, do you want a comic where we've had 2 issues now where almost nothing has happened? The only thing that resembles conflict in this superhero comic. I mean, look, I think slice of life comics are fine. A lot of the people I talk to are like, they hate them. But if you're going in for a slice of life comic like Mason at Coco, or I mean, even to some extent, Ranma One Half is a slice of life comic, you know what you're getting. And if you write it well and you draw it well, it's enjoyable. I mean, I like that shit. It's fun. I mean, I watched Seinfeld. Seinfeld is, dumb shit every week. That's what it was. It wasn't a superhero show. It was like, 4 semi-friends, colleagues just messing around every day. Like, that's what it was. And if you want to make that your comics, that's fine. But I struggle with the idea that you've got Iron Man and Ultron in a comic, and it's slice of life. I don't think you get to put those two together. It doesn't make sense. I mean, for some people it does. Look, I'm talking for myself. I'm not talking for any of you. But are you enjoying this stuff? If so, I'm not going to be rude to you. I promise. I think I've earned enough credibility here that you could trust me. But how? How is this good? Who is reading this and going, I'm glad I spent my $4.95 a month on this? I mean, you pick up the West Coast Avengers, you pay $5, you get a comic that is what? An argument over Ultron, the character that we had a giant crossover event where he tried to murder the universe on the team, and he's trying to be a good guy, and Tony wants to rehabilitate him. Why? I mean, I guess, sure. I mean, is this a concept of a comic? I mean, maybe and then we're dealing with Firestar's alcoholism, sort of, and there's a character called Blue Bolt who has got electric powers, who's a villain and kind of a dick, but he's got a heart of gold. I don't know what we're doing as a comic. I picked this up and I'm like, I finish it and I'm like, what was this? Really? And it's not like this just started happening in 2025. You have comics where this has happened in, back in the 80s. You had, dumb throwaway issues, but I really don't know what the point of all this is. And I'm really curious to hear who is liking this because I mean, it feels like as I'm reading this comic, it's like this comic is a very special episode to talk about the bravery of confronting addiction with alcohol from Firestar, who hid a flask up her ass because she went to a team meeting somewhere in Los Angeles where they were debating whether Ultron was a good guy or not. Then they had lunch and it was just too much. So she had a shot of, I mean, what? I don't know. Was she got Everclear in there? What's in that flask? And it takes the edge off. And then she made out with a bad guy. But the bad guy is really kind of a good guy with a good soul. And then she goes into what are we doing in this comic? I've met Jerry Duggan. He's a good guy. Sorry. I don't know I don't know him. I don't know if maybe he goes home and kicks puppies. I have no idea, but he's been friendly enough. But he's complained at cons. I've been at conferences and he's like, "What the fuck am I doing here?" I mean, like, there's plenty as an outside observer. There's plenty of room for me to go. What is going on with this guy? But what are we doing? Is this comics? Like, who? Why do we think this is a good idea? Seriously, why do we think this is what comics should be? This video should have more of a point. I guess the point is, who's buying West Coast Avengers for $5? Well, can any of you explain it? Thanks for listening.